Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 197, recorded June 1st, 2010. iProm. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Carbonite, the leader in online backup. Back up your PC or Mac off-site securely and automatically. For a free trial offer, plus 2 free months with purchase, go to Carbonite.com. Offer code MacBreak. And by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to publish a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your new account, go to Squarespace.com/MacBreak. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to Audible.com/MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers everything coming from Cupertino, including, of course, all the Macintoshes and iPods and iPhones and iPads. I got one here. And guess who else I got here? He's back from Africa, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Alex Lindsay. Wait a minute, I don't have to say it. I can sing it.
Alex Lindsay.
Hey, Alex Lindsay, good to have you back. Welcome.
It's great to be back.
Did you have fun in Africa?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We won't do that the whole show.
Yeah, no. It's great to be back. It's good to be back.
You look great. I can't believe you flew in last night. I mean,
I drove in last night. I flew to L.A. and then drove up with my wife. She was with her family.
What are you, nuts?
She requested it.
Well, whatever.
Needed to have.
Carlita wants. Carlita
she's the boss. So, but had a great time and saw a lot of technology in Africa.
I can't wait. We'll hear all about it in a second. I also want to welcome Mr. Andy Ihnatko. You have a...
Hey, Leo, we're right here at Ernie Bach, Ford Lincoln Mercury, and boy, if you haven't come down here yet today for your Memorial Day, you're really sure we're going to be broadcasting all day long with free balloons and hot dogs for kids.
I've done that. Bring the old lady in the pink slip. Bring your checkbook.
Andy Ihnatko.
Come on down. The hot dogs are hot and the deals are hotter. I swear to God, I've done that.
I've done it.
Yeah, I did it at a carpet store. That was the most depressing point of my DJ career.
I did it at a mall.
A carpeteria. Come on down to the carpeteria. And
we're only here for another 45 minutes.
Nobody shows up because who wants to see a DJ on a telephone? No one. And if you're not buying carpet, and of course the owner's standing there breathing down your neck saying, "Where is everybody?"
Right.
The salesman said that thousands would show up.
Well, and it depends on the market. I mean, there are any given market. I know in Pittsburgh there was like one radio station that if they showed up, half of Pittsburgh would show up.
Right.
But that was
if Howard Stern goes somewhere, people show. But
exactly
not Leo Laporte.
Yeah, I didn't get a lot of attention either.
Welcome to Carpeteria. May I help you?
Yeah.
So, golly, it's one of those times when you wish you didn't have to do a show because really we're in the lull before the storm. All the news is about Google and a little bit about Microsoft.
And everyone's just
and everybody's
planning.
waiting because the big story for us is next Monday, this Monday.
That's correct.
WWDC. Steve Jobs says you won't be disappointed.
I'm not. I realized I was thinking about it. And I didn't feel like there's not that much I needed new for my iPhone, so I don't think I will be disappointed.
Well, good. You're right, because we already know ain't going to be much new in there. Unless, Andy, you have something you'd like to add.
I have nothing I'd like to add.
I love it. I love Andy Ihnatko. I said I loved you lately.
But you know what? I can never hear it enough, Leo.
My mother, by the way, is in studio today. She's the silent fourth in this show. You can't see her because no camera is pointed at her, but she loves you, Andy Ihnatko. And she says, come on over for a home-cooked meal anytime.
Your mom is about 9 pounds of adorable in a 6-pound sack. She is quite wonderful.
You got her. You know her because you met her on a cruise. I forgot.
It was the most. It was like really one of the most adorable things I'd ever seen because she was making you a sweater, but she didn't want you to. She wanted you to be surprised, so you had to close your eyes while she was like holding it up against you, like sort of measuring it.
Curses! You guys have a good memory. Dang. So Steve Jobs is going to be on stage at D8 today, the D conference, Kara Swisher and Walt Mossberg's conference, so he might say something not.
Yeah. Only an email. That's the only time he gives us any hints.
I hope they ask him about that. What's this new email strategy you're all about?
I think it's pretty savvy, actually. It's a good way to kind of
I think it's very savvy.
Officially send stuff out.
At least he's taking control of the message.
Right.
And knowing Steve, it's got to be him, right? Katie Cotton, Apple's PR person, is a messenger, but she's messengering only his input, right?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it. I mean, when you look at you can almost hear him say it when you see the stuff going through there. So
I guess we could just wrap this show up right now. I don't know what to say. We could talk. We could speculate. There have been rumors.
Well, it's more like trying to figure out why would he schedule such a high-profile talk just 1 week before he's going to have an entire stage to himself, and I think it'll be interesting to see where he puts that sort of dividing line between these are things that I can talk about with my good personal friend Walt Mossberg, whom I'm quite the buddy with because I'm just one of those regular guys who likes to pal around with journalists all the time. And what stuff will he keep close to the vest for next Monday?
I hope they ask him about Lala. The other shoe dropped on Lala yesterday. We knew they were going to shut it down. Mm-hmm. But the question is, why did they acquire it, and what are they going to do with it? This was a kind of a streaming music service.
I think that there's also an opportunity for him to continue his campaign related to. He can talk more about the iAds. He can also continue his campaign about why Apple's not supporting Flash and Unified.
That's what it's going to be.
I think
he'll stay on message.
Yeah, I mean, because that's a great platform for him to continue making his argument, whether people buy it or not.
Because it's a place where he needs to be getting that stuff out in the form of a conversation with another person as a human being, right, as opposed to on the mountaintop. No, you're not going to get up on the stage with me. No, you're not going to get the microphone away from me. I'm going to give you these pronouncements, and then I'm going to walk off. You'll never see me again. So,
and it's a fairly safe place for him to do that. Given the people who are.
Oh yeah, they're not going to challenge him.
Yeah.
With all due respect to Kara and Walt, they're not going to challenge him too much.
Right. I mean, they'll ask him the obvious questions that are related to that subject matter, but they're not going to dig into it too hard.
That's always the issue with getting these great interviews, these great scores, because if Steve Jobs were sitting in this chair, he's not going to do it unless he knows it's going to be a safe place, and if we wanted to get him back, we know or maybe even just keep him from walking out, we can't challenge him too much. It's very tricky.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's why you really can't even think about that. Every time that you get something like that, you have to figure that this is the last time you'll ever get an opportunity like this ever again. Because after that, you have control of what happens while they're there in front of you. You don't have control of what happens after they walk away.
Right.
So while you have control, take advantage of it.
Just like streaming, an iPad launch or something like that.
I figured
when you're there, you're there.
If it's my last time, I might as well go out with a bang. Let's take a little break, come back with more. I think I'd like to speculate, and there are new rumors coming out. We know a surprisingly lot about the iPhone, thanks to Gizmodo. Although I think there is a good chance that Apple might have at that point shifted gears and said, well, that's not going to be the prototype we're releasing. I don't know.
Or we just don't know we know some of the hardware features, but we don't know how well it works with software. And remember, iPhones are all about the software that they run. It's just a host organism for software.
True. And we know a little bit about 4.0, but we haven't really seen it in action. For instance, I have a lot of questions about the multitasking. I know I can run Pandora, but what else can I do? How else can I run in the background? Is it full multitasking, or is it more pseudo multitasking, things like that? So these are all questions we'll get answered on Monday. But I have a question to answer those of you who are wondering. They come up to me all the time, Leo, where can I go to create a wonderful website? Easy to use, beautiful, not looking like any other, and yet affordable. Where can I go, Leo? And of course the answer I always give them is squarespace.com. The place to go for beautiful websites. Actually, I'm being a little facetious when I say this, but I do, in fact, send people to Squarespace all the time. It's the secret behind exceptional websites. And you can try it free right now if you go there to squarespace.com/MacBreak. No credit card needed. Just sign up for an account. You'll get 2 weeks. You can import all the data from your existing WordPress or movable type or typepad or blogger site. So you can see really what a site's going to look like. You don't have to, it's not a dummy site. This is going to be what your site will look like. Take a look at the Squarespace iPhone app, the stats package, the great templates. You start with the template, but then you can customize it beautifully. I do suggest setting up a photo gallery. They're gorgeous. Go ahead.
Anybody who's getting started and wants to build a website for your business, for your personal, blog, or any of those things, it just is the simplest, quickest way to put up something that looks great and works well.
Steve Gibson broke my heart because he had already set up his WordPress.com account. I said, Steve, Squarespace, what are you doing?
Right.
He said, well, I already set it up. I said, oh, Steve, you're breaking my heart. You're breaking my heart, Steve. But he said, he says, I don't want anything that looks good. If you know Steve Gibson, you know that that's probably true. Steve's not looking for design. He wanted, something that he could,
And the iPhone app, by the way, works incredibly well.
I think it's the best blogging app out there. I just love it.
Yeah, because I have a couple different. Most of our sites now are the front page sites are all Squarespace, and so I can log into any one of those and make adjustments separately from my iPhone.
And every Squarespace site looks unique, and that's one of the reasons I like it. Here's one in their examples: Journey of the Universe. Look at this gorgeous site. But if you know CSS and JavaScript, of course, the sky's the limit. But you don't have to. You can get great looking sites very simply. Go take a look at some of the examples. It's just amazing. And then I strongly encourage you at least give it a try. If you decide to buy, very affordable. They start at $8 for the basic site, and you'll get 10% off for life if you use the coupon code MacBreak. Squarespace.com/MacBreak. Great sites start with Squarespace. So shall I dignify these rumors?
Of course.
We got nothing else.
Looking forward to seeing Steve Ballmer, catamount across the stage.
That rumor, I don't think is going to happen. In fact,
well, because Microsoft actually Twitter like, no, we're not doing that. For God's sakes, how dumb are you?
Well, if I saw him there, I'd be looking to make sure he doesn't slip on the ice that's forming below him.
We talked about it on Windows Weekly because that's when it leaked out. And Mary Jo Foley, who was on Windows Weekly last week, was one of the bloggers who repeated the story. And they tweeted while we were on Windows Weekly. They tweeted, no. What did they say? Something like, no, Steve Ballmer is not going to be speaking at WWDC, nor is he entering the World Series of Poker. I mean, they
going to be on Dancing with the Stars.
He's not going to be dancing on the stars. It was pretty clear. That was about the clearest denial I have ever seen.
I think it's the clearest indication that there's really so little going on the internet in the past couple of weeks that there's so little to speculate about before E3 that we just got to fill the time.
Any crappy rumor is good.
Well, it's good for traffic,
Well, and Mary Jo even said, it's not credible because she said every Apple keynote is so choreographed, minute to minute to minute. Ed Bott said this too. He said that's why the iPhones all say 942 in the packaging and stuff, because that's exactly when the first screenshot of the iPhone appears in the keynote. And he said there's no way Steve Ballmer is going to sit backstage and wait till his appearance at whatever it is, 9:27. He's just not going to do it. So there's no way they can do it. And I think that that rumor is clearly not true. Although remember, Bill Gates did appear on Steve Jobs' first keynote when he came back and gave a whopping $150 million to Apple, and the promise that this is in 1997, that they would continue to make Microsoft Office for Apple. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Apple is bigger in market cap anyway than Microsoft.
There's only one company left.
Exxon.
And at the rate that they're growing, Apple will pass Exxon possibly by the end of the year. Definitely by next spring.
Now, we should point out that this is market cap, which is merely outstanding stock shares times the stock price.
It's all hype.
It's BS because it doesn't even include privately held shares,
right?
Like Bill Gates has. So we don't. I mean, it's not a meaningful, but it's bragging rights.
Yeah, and it gets you some press.
Oh, it's just it's stupid. It's logo recognition. It's hey, the color of my shirt is better than the color of your shirt because the color of my shirt won more games last year. It's stupid. If we weren't all that concerned when Apple stock about the reflection on the quality of their products when the stock price was at 12 3/8, anybody who's particularly proud of this or thought that Apple was in any sort of financial trouble a month ago before this happened is just it's a non-story.
Yeah. 2 non-stories down and 3 to go.
As someone who ethically can, it would be a story if I could ethically purchase Apple stock and could have purchased it back when it was 12 3/8. Yeah. But because I'm in my ethical high chair, I can say that this is a non-story.
No, I
agree with you. I mean, it's crazy.
Of course, then you make the mistake of showing your wife that there's a little website called Marketocracy, and you invested in Apple with fake stock at 13.
You bought it at 13 with fake stock?
Yeah. I bought a lot of it at 13.
Because you knew.
Stock. And my wife constantly reminded, we just put real money into that. We could have bought a house.
I know. My wife does the same thing. I say, honey, I cannot buy Apple stock. I'm trying to cover Apple. I can't have Apple stock.
Well, my wife asked why I don't buy any stock. I'm like, well, because the only industries that I know are the ones that I'm on shows about.
That I can't. It's really true. It's really true, isn't it? It's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting rumor, and I think this might be credible, that Apple TV will be revved possibly on Monday.
It's an iPhone box.
It's basically an iPhone, a big
without a
old
screen.
iPhone. It'll run iPhone software, very limited storage, because everything will stream.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Would it run apps? I guess it would.
I bet. Well, I'll tell you. The only thing that makes me wonder is how do you deal with resolution when you have a version that runs on a 46-inch
Well, as
Samsung?
we all know, iPhone apps on the iPad are far from satisfactory. So
Right.
I think if you do that, you add a third screen dimension now, which is not desirable.
Yeah, that's the part.
Android developers have to live with that.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Yeah. I guess you just really have to get smart about building these apps that are a mixture of, I guess you'd build it almost for an iPad. I mean, you'd almost build an iPad-like application, and it would probably run fairly well on your large screen.
Andy, do you have an opinion of this idea of a streaming Apple TV? We all use and liked Apple TV when it came out. I don't know if we still use it. Do you still use it?
Yeah, I was having conversations with people, and there's the number of us who had Apple TVs was surprisingly high. The number of people who had Apple TVs that were unplugged or just in storage was about almost like 1 to 1 for people who are actually still using for something. It's the perfect design for a HD TV computer as the world existed in like 2003, 2004. It is not the perfect machine for how things are today. I just got an update to my Roku box that added which used to just stream whatever was already in my Netflix queue. Now it adds full menu system, full search, full reordering of my queue. Yep. And now I cannot think what I would do if that thing had a 256 gigabyte hard drive on it. I probably wouldn't even use it at all. It really is all about streaming. I think the thing that would have to really nail is just the ability to get that price down to a consumer level. If someone is at any store, it has to compete with a DVD player or a Blu-ray player.
And Gadget says it's $99. Is that the price? Is that the right price?
Unknown. That would be the right price, because the Roku box costs $99. I think for that price, a lot of people can see themselves purchasing that and actually making use of it.
I think they can do it. It's an A4 flash, 16 gigs of flash storage. You're not storing much on here.
Right, and that's very, very similar to the architecture of the Google TV, which has a small amount of local storage that's pretty much just for user settings and installing apps. It's not for installing content on it, but it's big enough that when you're streaming, it will make sure you'll get uninterrupted playback. So the question would be: would the next generation Apple TV even bother having an Ethernet port, or are they going to do it all with Wi-Fi? And the idea of it running iPhone apps, I think it's more. I think if they were to do it that way, I have no information about this, but if they were to do it this way, I think it would be more like the first generation phone, where all the apps they build for this are built using the standard iPhone development tools, but you're gonna have to jailbreak it in order to get third-party apps on it, at least for starters, because it would be such a big problem to simply. It seems like a very big problem to figure out how you're going to develop an application, not just for that screen size, but also for the idea that you have this 5-button controller and not free and full access to the screen as a user.
Well, the question is will you be able to integrate your iPhone as a controller for your
that's what you can do with the Google TV. You can use your Android phone as the remote control.
I think that
that's
would be
pretty slick.
I guess I think that would be probably the solution. And I can see stuff like stuff that I've already played with, like for instance playing Scrabble on the home computer. I mean, on the home TV with my, with friends where you have everybody's got their little iPhone and they're flicking the, that type of stuff. It really
sexy.
Changes dramatically.
That changes the definition of the thing. Now you're no longer talking about a consumer device. You're talking about an iPhone accessory.
Like the iPad?
No. I think you have something.
That's how the iPad Scrabble
works. I think you could.
No, I'm saying that if you're saying that the user interface is going to be presented through an iPhone or an iPod Touch or an iPad, now you sort of redefine it to the people someone who's walking to the store with $100 in their pocket and wanted to get something that will make their TV cooler. It's no longer a device you simply take home and it works. Now it is an accessory for another product that you actually own. You have to have an iPhone. You have to have an iPad.
What if it does both, Andy? What if it uses an Apple remote or an iPhone?
Then that becomes a sort of clumsy situation that Apple historically doesn't go for. But I'm ready to be proven wrong.
But I think also when we look at the people who bought iPads and iPads, for instance, I don't know the number, but I bet you that 90% of them had iPhones, if not more. Like when we look at who bought, everybody that I know that bought an iPad had an iPhone. It was not I don't think that would be a problem. I don't think that would affect sales that much, at least at the beginning. But I definitely see what you're saying, though. It would be a complex situation as a developer.
But the timing is kind of interesting, though. If they were to, assuming that this is anywhere near a real product, it would be very, very true to form to announce it at WWDC in June so that when they release it for the holiday buying season in September, there's already apps out there for it, where they would avoid a lot of the mistakes I think they made with launching the iPad without third-party apps or without a really big library of third-party apps all ready to go.
Was it a mistake? They've now sold 2 million in 2 month.
Yeah. No, they're not having any problems moving them. I'm just saying that the hoofbeats are right behind them. Every other manufacturer was waiting to see what effect the iPad would have before they firmed up their own thoughts on a slate-like computer, and every single one of them is falling behind. Android. All the ones who got lots of attention at the Consumer Electronics Show in January, if any of them were using any operating system that was not Android, they're usually now either canceling the product or they're announcing that, Lenovo saying that they're that cool like clamshell design that had like a slate on one side, a netbook on the other. When you remove the slate side of it, it stops being a Windows netbook and it starts being an iPad-like device. Now they said that they're no longer going to use their proprietary Linux on it. They're going to be putting Android on that little slate. So everybody's really coming behind Android, and so Apple has this like 3, 4, 5 month window in which they can make sure that by the time any of these devices start shipping, they can emphatically state that, well, here are all the apps you would want to use on a slate. Here's a kick-butt word processor. And Pages is very, very good, but it's not up to the standard that a lot of Office users are going to be expecting. So, same thing with Keynote. So they're doing really, really well. I just wish that the professional level apps were already not only there, but just emphatically there.
The only thing I had to say about with the professional word.
You can tell I mean that because I was using my punctuation voice.
And
we came to a full stop actually.
I was just going to say that because Pages, my biggest complaint with Pages, I heard you guys talking about this when I was gone, was the whole rotating thing. I couldn't figure out how to get to the menu. But for me, the thing with something like Pages is that I don't. The last version of Word that I actually liked using was 5.1. And so all I needed to do, when I write articles, I write them all in text edit. What? Sorry?
Oh, you finally abandoned Right Now for Word 5.
Oh, Right Now. I miss Right Now. Where is Right Now? Bring it back. Bring it back.
The CEO went on some good things, but just a stepping stone.
Damn.
Just a stepping stone.
Yeah, I do think that the trying to get the stuff to sync still is an issue. Getting stuff back and forth to the iPad. You want to use it for more, and getting data back and forth. I noticed on my trip was a bit painful.
I made this We Rule spreadsheet on crops and buildings and which ones maximize, and I did some calculations of gold per hour, and I put it in numbers, and I imported it back and forth, and you're right. It's a pain in the butt. You could do it, but you have to sync it up to iTunes and everything. But when you decide you want to start farming, just let me know, because I can tell you exactly what the best buildings to build are.
For farming?
For We Rule. for virtual farming.
You know, I'm really trying to stay focused. I keep my addiction focused to Plants vs. Zombies and Field Runners.
Oh, I've already outgrown those. Although Field Runners, the new maps are fun.
Yeah. I'm just trying to. It's not. I just try to keep it focused.
Well, I'll just give you a little tip. My recommendation.
I don't want to know.
The tailor shop. That's all. I'll just say that. I'll just say that. Many people think it's, Tom Merritt and I have this discussion. He believes it's the Dragon's Lair. But I have to say, no, there's no question in my mind. After doing the careful calculations. No, I only bring that up because it's the first time I've created a spreadsheet on actually I created it initially on the iPad. I've been round tripping it, and you lose a little bit of stuff, but not a lot. It's not a perfect round trip, but at least you can do that. But you have to sync it each time. You have to, and by the way, it doesn't just show up. You have to import it and export it each time from the numbers on the iPad. So, and it's just kind of a pain.
It's that whole thing of getting that stuff in and out, getting PDFs onto it, getting all of those things are things that I think that Apple needs to work on, and I think they need to work on them quickly because I think those are the things that I find to be really.
Well, and Andy, you really think that the competition is coming? It's breathing.
Well,
down
I mean, they're not silent They're not silent. They're not going to stay silent. They're definitely coming.
But it's going on right now in Taiwan at Computex.
Yeah, well, see, my big point is just that we still don't know. Like, is Apple selling 2 million of these because they really did get the secret sauce going on that device, or is it because there's always been this gap in the computer product line that no one has filled yet? That people want a device exactly like this shape, this size, this power, and if someone can build something like that for $150 less, what then happens?
My instinct really is that Apple did discover a new form factor. And I do believe an Android-based version of this is going to be competitive. I really do. And maybe more so because it'll have a USB slot. It might have a camera. It might do Flash. It might do things that Apple has turned its back on. And and the advantage Android has right now, when we say it's selling 2 million, so 1 million units a month, that's really chicken feed compared to the 1.8 million Android phones that are sold every month. I mean, it's a lot. It's more than the iPhone sold in the first month or two, but it's a different world. And Android, because it's iteration, I talked about this before, the fact that they can get multiple handsets, new handsets out every few months from different manufacturers, that's both a blessing and a curse, and they can update the operating system so much more quickly than Apple can, is giving them a leg up in a way that Apple's not seen this kind of competition before.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That HTC Evo phone.
Incredible.
I don't think it's a great phone. I'm publishing a review of it this week, but it does have the advantage of it has this really cool big screen that's much bigger than an iPhone screen, but still small enough that it will fit in any man's shirt pocket at any rate. And it really is just bigger enough to make it a really big step forward. And Apple would have to really make they'd really have to just throw the dice and say, we're going to have to guess that people love this idea because there are only going to be 2 or 3 different phones that run the iPhone operating system. If we're going to give one of those slots away to this weird big screen iPhone, that's a big opportunity we will blow if we were guessing wrong. Android is like, hey, if you want to make one that's the shape of a smiley face,
try it. Yeah.
We don't let you port it. We don't care.
It's interesting. Their model is much more like the Microsoft model. The Microsoft model is we license software to hardware manufacturers, and that was one of the secrets to the success of Windows, don't you think?
Yeah. I think it was definitely a secret of the success. I think that Microsoft was blessed with 10 years.
Give me your iPhone. Let me hold this up next to the Evo just so that people can see the size comparison.
I think Microsoft was blessed with.
That's a cute picture.
Oh, thanks, little bub. And they were blessed with not having a lot of creative direction at Apple for a decade. That at the same time.
Right. So, Apple ceded it to them. There's no question about this.
But I think that, if Apple, it works when Apple's not moving forward very quickly. And I think I think that the thing that Apple still does better, when I talk to people about, because I got a lot of questions when I was in Africa about Android versus iPhone. And really.
Interesting, really.
Yeah, I mean, people are. Cell phones and smartphones are very popular in Africa.
That's interesting. They have computers.
More than computers. Yeah. Everybody's got a cell phone. Everyone's really good at using it. It's quite a thing. And I mean, there's a lot of people with computers, and of course, I was speaking at a lot of Apple stores and with folks that were working with Apple distribution. So I tended to meet people who were fairly technologically savvy, but. Right. when I got a question of it, really, and this may be me being not as you know, I haven't had an Android phone, but when I play with yours, I still, when I look at it, I go, if someone was more technologically savvy, I'd be more tempted to tell them, you know, you should really look at an Android and see if it's something that really wants you, you know, that you really want it to work. You may find that you're much happier with that because you'll be frustrated by some of the limitations within the iPhone. But when I talk about my parents or my kids, I still go, I think that they'd be more happier on an iPhone than an Android, because I just think that there's a lot of deep holes there that on the Android that would leave them more confused. And I think that that's still the advantage that Apple has. When I think of people who are less technologically savvy wanting to have a great smartphone, I still think an iPhone is a better solution.
I agree 100%. I think the iPhone is a much more consumer phone because Apple thinks these things much better. Just these little touches, like I'm sort of like sketching out a piece that's going to be coming in a few weeks about iPhone versus Android as operating systems, and I realize that all I have to do to explain the difference between the two philosophies is in Froyo at least 2.2, like the very latest version of Google's own music player. Go to the very, very bottom. Just focus on the very, very bottom of the screen, like the bottom, like 1.5 to 2 inches, where you'll see one strip that has the playback buttons, you know, play, pause, fast forward, whatever. Right underneath that is a little strip that has the scrubber for the timeline of your playing back.
Too close, huh?
Right underneath that are the master buttons for the OS, you know, home, search, back, whatever. So you have clustered together 3 places where every time that there's at least a 1 out of 3 chance that when I want to pause, I will actually wind up fast forwarding into the dead center of this 4-hour long thing that I'm trying to listen to because I've accidentally aimed a little bit too low and hit the scrubber instead. Or like when I'm typing email, you know, especially on the Nexus One, which clusters those 4 application buttons too close together, I'll be trying to tap the space button and I'll accidentally hit the back button instead, or the menu button, and I'll be dumped into the home screen or someplace else instead of just hitting the space as I intended. So I really think that the last thing that the second big problem though is that I can't recommend an Android phone to people. I have to recommend, well, the HTC Incredible is very good. The Nexus One is very good. This one, because every single model does a different, sets up their phone in a different way. Like the Evo, I like it, but they've set up like it's the browser. The button to get you to the browser should be like one tap away everywhere. Are you angry?
No, my stupid Nexus One. I'm just trying to show the Nexus. This is what you were saying is actually really apt. This is unfortunately, maybe not unfortunately, HTC has their own apps for music, and they've solved, by the way, those little issues. I like the HTC Sense UI, which does change the Google UI, and I'm trying to get my Google phone to work, and I have a little problem with it responding. And
I would just like to say my point exactly.
And that's another thing. Look how you can't do anything with that phone until you tap that button at the top. And what did they do with it? They made it recessed and tiny on the edge, and the same color as the rest of the plastic.
Yeah. And all of the Droid phones do that.
Well, and I think that.
And now the other thing is the digitizer, and this is a Nexus One problem, I think, is often unresponsive, and so it's just a very
and I think that this is I do think as an app developer, it seems like it's much more complicated because I have lots of different Android phones and lots of different
and
lots of different.
That's kind of what we were talking about when you have an Apple TV and now an iPhone that can run on different, iPad, iPhone, and now Apple TV.
Right.
You want to be careful about creating too many SKUs because it makes it harder for developers.
Right. And I still think I think that for an Apple TV style, I think you could build apps that were really looking at the form factor of a iPad, and you'd probably be fine. That resolution and so on and so forth. I don't know if they'd have to build a third one.
There are some polish issues, Andy, with Android, but you know that they're iterating so fast that I think they'll be gone rapidly, much more rapidly.
My difficulty is that what I hate to see, I can appreciate when I'm testing out a piece of software, a piece of hardware, I can appreciate the idea of where, they just have a different philosophy. It's not my philosophy of how I design this, but I can see where they're going with this. What you hate is that reaction where you're thinking, no one tried this before they released it. Only an idiot would have released a phone like this. So they wouldn't have put that button right there. Or they wouldn't make that step so complicated when they could have just put one button right there. I really think that there's an institutional blindness inside of Google that says that at some point we're done. We're just going to ship this. And that point is about 5 feet short of the line in which they've developed a piece of software or a piece of hardware that normal, ordinary consumers can really resonate with and think, my God, this is easy. This is exactly the way I expect things to work.
I mean, because the thing that makes Apple good at what they do is not what they put into it, but what they take out of it. I mean, that is what makes the iPhone good, and it drives me crazy at least once a day about the iPhone being limited in one way or the other. But I know that the reason it's easy to use, and the reason people find it easy to use is not because Apple put extra features in. It's not because they developed a new feature there. It's because they eliminated 6 of them that could have been there. And I still think, when I look at the Android, I still think it's 4 geeks by geeks. You know, and I think that there's a lot of geeks out there, and so it's selling really well. But I don't think, as I said, when I think of people who they're getting their first smartphone and they were going from something else and they want something that does all those things, this is not the phone that I would suggest to them.
I love my Nexus 1, but maybe I'm a geek.
But I'm looking at getting one because I want it. We are geeks, you know, and I think that I want to get a Nexus. I want to get a Android phone because there's a bunch of stuff on it that I want to play with. I'm gonna, as soon as I get my new iPhone, whenever that comes out. I
have to admit, I can't wait to see 4G. So what does Apple do to respond to what is clearly a fast-moving business in the next generation iPhone? Let's talk about that. Our predictions for WWDC coming up in just a little bit. How about that? Take a break, smoke them if you got them. Andy Ihnatko is here from the Chicago Sun-Times. Still wearing his CU cap.
That's because, I mean, I can't like get my hair combed and like put into like good. And
you can't put headphones over the big hat you wear, so.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, Mr. Alex Lindsay back from Africa of the Pixel Core, pixelcore.com for that great guild of multimedia artists, pixelcore.tv for all the great Pixel Core podcasts. And I'm so glad he's back because he's like our guy, our consultant. Without him, I don't know what cameras to buy or anything. So welcome home.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Good to have you home. Briefly, would like to mention our friends at Carbonite.com. These are the backup folks. A must-have, Carbonite. I had a call on the radio show. It happens every week. Woman said, I backed up all my pictures onto an external drive. Oh, good. I like hearing that. Then I deleted the originals. Oh, I don't like hearing that. And then the hard drive died, and I'm told the motor's dead, and that's going to cost me $2,000 to get my pictures. What can I do? And so then I have to say, well, you're not backing up if you only have one copy. One, just because it says this is the backup drive means nothing. Second of all, hard drives do die. Local backups have another problem. If there's a fire or flood, you can lose your original with the backup. Burglars come in and steal everything, as has happened to Francis Ford Coppola in Argentina last year. You lose it all. You got to have, it's the 3-2-1 backup, thanks to Peter Krogh. This is the guy who wrote the digital asset management book. He says 3 copies, an original and 2 backups, 2 different media types, hard drive and CD, hard drive and online, 2 different types, but one of them has to be off-site. If it's not off-site, it's not backed up. And Carbonite makes all of that easy. Go right now to Carbonite.com. Use the coupon code MacBreak. You can try it free for 15 days with no credit card. As soon as you install it, works great on Macs, immediately starts backing up those personal files, the financial records, the email, the photos, the stuff you can't afford to lose. It encrypts if you choose, which means you're absolutely private. It uses AES 256-bit encryption. It's the best out there. You control the key so no one else can see it. SSL, of course, for all transmissions. So even if you are an open Wi-Fi access spot and you bring there with your laptop, it's nobody's seeing what's being backed up, I promise you. And Carbonite is just fantastic. Now, I want you to try it because, of course, it relies on your upstream backup. I'm going to put it on Abby's laptop when she goes to college. This is one thing it's really perfect for. So she doesn't have to know she's being backed up. She doesn't have to think about it. But when I get that inevitable call, Dad, I erased my paper or I lost my laptop, I can say, don't calm down. It's okay. We've got a backup. Carbonite. Less than $5 a month for everything on your hard drive. That's it. You do gigabytes, terabytes, doesn't matter. If it fits on your hard drive, if it's your personal data, less than $5 a month. And you get 2 months free if you use MacBreak as a coupon code. Please try it today. Carbonite.com, offer code MacBreak. And if you're giving as I am, a high school senior, a laptop for graduation in college, put Carbonite on it. Just don't even think about it before you give it to them. Put Carbonite on it. Carbonite.com. We are going to do special coverage of the WWDC keynote. We now know 10 a.m. Steve Jobs will take the stage. Alex, Lindsay, you will be here in studio.
Yep.
Along with Tom Merritt, who will be anchoring it because I am actually out of town that day, so I'm not going to be here.
It's a real luxury for me to be able to sit in the passenger seat.
Well, you and Tom will be passengers, and we'll have Eric Lanigan.
Okay, perfect.
Board op, because he's our designated board op for Tom Merritt, and he does the new Tom Merritt show, which by the way launches today, June 1st, 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 Eastern at live.twit.tv, and it will be a daily news show. Similar to that show Tom used to do at CNET Buzz Out Loud. Becky Worley is going to join him today, and for 3 days a week. Sarah Lane will be with him as well, I think 2 days a week. And he's going to have newsmaker interviews, and, of course, this will be the show to listen to for Tech News Daily. 2:30 Tech News.
How long is
today? It'd be half an hour, quick in and out, 40 minutes. You will get the news you need, and then we can listen to that and just steal all his ideas. And it's going to really save us a lot of time as well, so I'm very happy about that. However... Monday, WWDC. Tom and you will anchor. Andy, what are you doing for WWDC? Are you going to be live blogging it?
I don't know yet. It depends on what kind of hardware that I decide to bring with me. I'm intending to live blog from the event. I have to back that up. I actually have my Verizon MiFi all charted up and ready to go. You know that if you try to do AT&T in a room full of 5,000 people who are also on AT&T, it doesn't work so well. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be at the keynote and hopefully filing stuff throughout the course of the day.
Great. Well, we'll be following, of course, yours, and Don McAllister will also be there. Do you usually go to WWDC, or is this because you think there's going to be big announcements this year?
WWDC has moved into the usually category for me, only because it's the only time that I know for a fact that Apple is going to have a big full dog and pony show keynote, and so that makes it newsworthy.
You know, it's funny because it's a long way to go for one thing. Journalists get kicked out at WWDC
if you're one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's another reason why I like to go, because when I go to like a week-long trade show, that's like, oh goodness! This is like being it's like one of those man versus wild sort of week-long documentaries. But this is like, oh no, you mean I can't? Oh no, I can't go to the rest of this. I just have to drink cappuccino with friends of mine who are taking breaks from their rat race things, learning how to develop. Oh dang it!
Now we know the real reason.
And in one of my favorite cities too. Oh, for God's sake!
Rats!
Why must Andy always get the fuzzy end of the lollipop?
Hey Andy, how long are you here?
I'm only here for a few days. I'm coming in late Saturday, and believe it or not, I'm going to be leaving right from I'm doing MacBreak Live in the studio on Tuesday. I'm going right from there to the airport. My plane is like 4 hours after the show airs.
It's waiting. It'll be fueling for you, waiting for you to walk up.
Right. Actually, I'm having one of them twin Beechcrafts, like just sort of parked in the street outside the cottage.
Nice.
It's good. I'll walk you to the plane, Jay. What is it that Bogart says? He says, "You're going to regret this, Ihnatko. Someday soon. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday soon."
Leo, this looks like the start of a beautiful friendship.
So, good. So you'll be here for 1 week from today for our special. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the keynote. They never stream it. I'm not there to break the rules, so I won't be able to stream it. So maybe you'll find somebody.
We'll work on it.
Who's in the place streaming
someone special.
And it will not be Don McAllister or Andy Ihnatko. I wouldn't jeopardize their relationships.
We'd like to find someone we don't know and jeopardize their relationship.
Some stranger, yes. But if you can't get audio, we've got Andy and Don, and of course every other gadget blog and everybody else will be live blogging it. So we'll be able to give you the play-by-play coverage with Tom Merritt and Alex Lindsay, I think starting at 10 Pacific on Monday. What do we think? What's going to happen? That Apple TV rumor, that seems credible. I'd buy that.
I buy that. I buy a new iPhone.
It's a credible rumor. I don't know if it's credible for WWDC or not. It's just a mystery at this point, I think.
Well, we know there'll be an iPhone announcement.
Yeah, that's as always. And what I'm curious to see is what I'm going to be sort of have my ears wide open for is just in my own head how much of this got changed to make sure that they indirectly respond to Google's I/O keynote from a couple of weeks ago,
which was really an anti-Apple keynote, the Thursday.
Right. So, sometimes to Google's detriment. I'm sure that Apple wouldn't spend the entire time like just lashing out at Google, but I think that they're good. I'm wondering if they didn't, after that keynote, have to sort of go back to the whiteboard and say, this we got to really make this point really, really well, because this is a point that Google put into play, and people are starting to respond to that. And we also have to add a little bit here in this section right here to make sure that we sort of combat stories about this. Like we have to. I think that it would be behoove them to do an entire segment about great HTML5 based streaming solutions and how well H.264 works for everything. And here's an example of yet another developer who's abandoned Flash for HTML5. Oh, wow, it looks like some of the colors coming back to your face, Josh. Wow, did you lose weight? No, I just have lost that haggard expression that I had as a Flash developer for the past 3 or 4 years.
There is, somebody's telling me in the chat room, a rumor floating around that Apple also has Yerba Buena Center booked for later in the month. Would that change your thoughts about what's going to happen?
I haven't seen it, so I don't.
Yeah, it's been booked. It was booked for a year ago. It was end of June. Last week of June.
Yeah.
That's when I thought WWDC
Maybe they
would
thought
be.
That's why we thought WWDC would be then.
Yeah,
Why would no? There's not that. No, they'll just eat it because they'll eat the deposit because.
Are any of Apple's like senior executives like daughters like having a graduation
right.
or a debutante ball?
Graduation, of course.
Yeah, exactly. It could be another
It's
announcement.
Kimmy Jobs Super Sweet 16.
Actually, let me think. Wait a minute.
Well,
I think actually Steve's son and my daughter are roughly the same age, so he may be graduating from high school this week.
Well, that would be quite
as Abby is. Wouldn't that be?
That would be an awesome party.
I hope Abby gets an invitation. Hey, do you think Gizmodo will get an invitation to the WWDC? What do you think?
I think they'll be like cater waiters with a suspicious looking hump with an antenna underneath their little tuxedo jacket. That Apple's been sort of like told to keep their eyes out for.
I'm sorry about all the noise there. my Google phones just knew that this was MacBreak Weekly and would not stop making noise when they rang. I think I answered that call. Hey, sorry, never mind. So iPhone, Apple TV. Anything else?
I mean, I think that Apple will.
OS 4, yeah.
I think that Apple may. Obviously, I think a large portion of this is going to be to go over the new OS 4. To really talk about.
I think that's what you do. It's a developers conference.
Yeah.
And it's almost a sideline. Yes, we're doing the next iPhone. Here's what it is. What features? We know the hardware, or do we? Do we know the hardware?
With the iPhone, I think that we're going to see something that looks very similar to the one that that was leaked. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be identical to that, but I think
there've been multiple instances out in the field now. So either that's one hell of a coincidence, or that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, and I think that I have to admit that after looking at the pictures, I'm looking forward to having.
Is it
one
the one
in
you
my pocket.
want?
Yeah,
because it looks like an iPad. What is it? Why
my roundy one looks?
Assuming that I can upgrade
dated.
my 3GS to 4.0, which I think they said that we could do. Why would I want a new iPhone?
I'm going to bet that the pixel
better camera
density is going to be much higher.
Do we know that? Didn't they know that about the one that couldn't Gizmodo figure that out?
I don't know if they said that or not, but the rumor is that it could be as high as 960 by 540, which would give it an incredibly dense pixel structure. I mean, like a page. I mean, it would just be on that size of a screen would be incredible.
Right.
And then a front-facing camera is a big deal to me. I mean, I think that the idea of being able to do iChats and
I got a front-facing iPhone. In fact, maybe Andy, you and I can call each other because we've got this Evo with a front-facing freaking camera and no one to call.
Well, the one thing that I'm hoping is
I'll call you, you call me, and then we'll be done. We'll call it a day.
If you're expecting 4G though, it ain't gonna work.
Yeah. Well, now this is where Apple has an advantage because Google you can use Fring or Quick or whatever, but Apple can make iChat be
right. Well, and the one thing that I'm hoping though is that Apple's going to allow other third-party developers to be able to use it, like Skype. So, like, imagine being able to have me be able to link in.
Please, I beg of you.
Yeah,
wouldn't that be awesome?
To be able to have the video Skypes that we would normally have for instance, for this show, but being able to do it from your new iPhone.
The quality now. This is, of course, the Evo. This isn't an iPhone, but the quality of the front-facing camera. It's 1.3 megapixels. It's small.
Right.
It's not ideal, but I mean, you get a picture, but the frame rate's not great.
Right.
So. But boy, wouldn't that be awesome if we could, instead of setting up a laptop, call you in the field on your iPhone?
Yeah, I mean, imagine doing the coverage from like these big launch events and everything else.
Right, it'd be very cool.
Yeah. I thought that the rumor. I was going through I read all the. I was reading all the articles.
Rumor crap.
Well, I was reading all the articles that got sent in the show notes this morning, and I can't remember which one it came from, but there was a rumor that I think it's a little preposterous, but I think that it would but I think it would be interesting to see is the idea of having a built-in ad blocker on Safari.
No freaking way.
I was like, well, I already have one, so I don't really need it. It's like I already block all my ads. And
that's the same guy who made up the rumor that Ballmer was speaking.
Oh, was it?
Well, I don't know. Why would you put an ad blocker if your business is iAds?
Well, because it would block everything.
Everything but iAds.
Well, it would. It's not for the iPhone. It's for the web. It'd be an ad blocker on the web. On Safari. I mean, I already do that. I don't know what it is. It's like the Flash, click to Flash.
Click to Flash is a good one, yeah.
And I just block everything.
Yeah.
It's just.
I don't want to see no Flash.
It speeds up the pages. I mean, that's why I do it. It's just because I don't want to wait for it to load.
Yeah, but I think we're all agreed though we're not going to see anything about desktops. Don't you agree?
I think we might see some new Mac Pros. I think the Mac Pro is typically the one that comes out.
We've been waiting, and we couldn't wait. We finally bought. We had to last week. I had to buy a Mac Pro because we wanted that new Extreme chip with the 6 cores for our video editors. But we had to have we have a third video editor. We had to have a third.
I have to say, for video editing, the 16 Proc or even the 8 Proc is great.
We've got a 16 Proc.
Yeah, the 16
but I'd
Proc
love
is
to
fantastic.
have a 24 Proc.
I don't think we're going to see 24. And this is the thing that I thought was interesting is that I think we'll see 12 if they're going to do it. 2 chips. Maybe there's a build to order 24. Maybe that might be the possibility if we see it.
It would have to have 4 chips.
Yeah, which I would buy I'd buy very quickly.
Yeah, for 20.
I meant more like comments on desktop apps, desktop.
I don't think so because
operating system.
Remember that
there's no course tracks in it. So.
And the Apple Design Awards left the Macintosh out entirely this year at WWDC. There is no OS 10 category. It's all mobile. So I think Apple sent a very clear message to developers
of where they're going.
I mean, I'm not thrilled about it, but I think the desktop's OS 10 is not.
No, it frightens me
as
a person who develops on and does a lot of work on the desktop. I do have to admit that I still think 5-10 years from now, I don't know if Apple is really investing anything in laptops. And
such bad news.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I'm an old fart. Am I an old fart for thinking that?
No,
You have to have a desktop to develop for these things. So developers are going to need them, and you need it for video editing, and you need it for high-end Photoshop, and don't you?
Well, you do. I mean, I think that I think that the question is whether Apple thinks it can move many of those solutions to things like the iPad. I mean, if you're looking at the trajectory and saying, well, the iPad will be as fast as I think we were talking about this on one of the shows, but I came to the conclusion that this iPhone runs 3 times faster than the Mac that I used to render Star Wars shots.
Isn't that funny?
I mean, but that's the thing to put it in perspective is that we, so when we look at a 10-year trajectory, 10 years ago, I was rendering shots for a feature film on a computer that was 1/3 the speed of my iPhone. So it's definitely something that is possible that we could see a lot of these features slowly be rolled into it, but they might look different.
Anything else we want to say about that?
Cookies.
I'm
expecting cookies. That's all.
At WWDC, there will be cookies.
I will say that one thing I'm going to do with this phone is jailbreak it after being in Africa, because every person I saw that had an iPhone, and there's a lot of iPhones in Africa, and they're
all jailbroken, right?
They're all jailbroken, and
are they all unlocked as well?
They're jailbroken and unlocked. because they don't, like in many of the countries that I was in, they don't have any distribution, for iPhones. So they buy them on the gray market, they jailbreak them, and they and everyone's swapping SIM cards as they go from country to country, and I was like, oh, that's really nice.
Adobe has rolled out iPad-focused magazine publishing tools. I think this is really funny.
I thought this was great. I thought this is really on the ball of Adobe. They can spend some time arguing about Flash, but I think that they are. I think that they're really grabbing a hold of this. And
this is what Wired, the new Wired magazine for the iPad, was made with, right?
I thought this was fantastic. That Adobe
InDesign plus plugins,
right?
And you can just run your magazine through it. Since most people are using InDesign to do their magazine layout anyway, it's probably a very easy thing to do to lay out the magazine and create an iPad version at the same time.
I think that what's amazing here is that Adobe is ahead of Apple. Pages should be able to do this right now.
Yeah, you're right.
This is a huge miss by Apple. That Pages is not.
But nobody uses Pages for magazine layout.
I know, but we should be able to do this and export it out, and then be able to pipe that into Xcode. I want to do a layout. I want to make it look the way I want it to look as a book, or I want to do whatever I want to do, and be able to export that to or a Keynote and put stuff together. Export that to my Xcode, or use that as the front interface to make it easier to develop this stuff. And the fact that Adobe, I think it should be embarrassing to Apple that the best development tool for putting magazines on an iPad is being built by Adobe. Now, I don't think it's surprising. I think that Adobe is a development tool company. I don't think that Flash is that important to them. And it's important to them. I don't think it should be as important to them as just the fact that they make great tools that make that create content, and it shouldn't matter how that content pumps out the other side. And I think that I think it's great news. I know we're going to be doing a lot of investigation into how to use InDesign to get some of our training products done that way.
Macintosh antivirus and firewall publisher Ihnatko says there is a embedded spyware in some Mac shareware, but they won't say what Mac shareware it is. So it's not much help. I think this is more to sell copies of Ihnatko than anything else.
Isn't that what they do?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they actually define cookies deposited by certain sites as spyware.
Yeah.
So they have to say exactly what they're
We have discovered a spyware application that is installed by a number of freely distributed Mac applications and screensavers found on a variety of websites. The spyware OS X Opinion Spy performs a number of malicious actions, from scanning files to recording user activity, as well as sending information about this activity to remote servers and opening a back door, which is really good news for us because now you have to buy our software. Actually, it sounds pretty nasty. I don't understand why they would not say where they found it. That doesn't seem to be a very good member of the community.
Yeah, I think the CEO is Professor Harold Hill.
Yeah. Come on, Ihnatko. If you really care about us, you'd say what programs so we could not download them instead of trying to foist a copy of your software on us.
Now, so if it's that important, someone's going to buy the product, reverse engineer it, find out what it's doing, and then sort of blab to everybody what it does. So.
Right. Apple's iPhone production scene is pointing to impending Verizon deal. Anybody know anything more? Because people now are really starting to bang the drum for a Verizon iPhone. And I run into regular people on the street who say, I hear it soon. I don't know why they think that.
I've heard nothing from anybody that goes beyond, hey, this is what I've heard.
Yeah.
So,
An analyst for Rodman and Renshaw says in a note to clients today that Apple is ramping up iPhone production. 12 million iPhones already in the supply chain for the September quarter, which is a lot, considering they've only sold 50 million since the inception of the device.
Well, and it would be big because I think most people that I've talked to that said, "Oh, I really want an iPhone, but I'm not going to get it," are Verizon users.
At this point, they've got anybody who is willing to go AT&T.
Yeah.
So they need to go to Verizon if they want to expand. So he believes that the fact that they're making these big supply chain deals indicates that they are going to go to Verizon.
I think you'd have a huge conversion on Verizon. I think that there'd be an enormous number of people that would switch to iPhones.
Also, according to the analyst, Qualcomm has been tapped by Apple to supply CDMA radio chips. CDMA is, of course, what you would need in a phone that's going to be sold on the Verizon network. Of course, do they do CDMA anywhere else in the world, or is iPhone all GSM?
They do.
So they do make CDMA
in Africa
iPhones.
and Brazil, and a couple other countries, they have CDMA.
But do they have CDMA iPhones?
Oh, no.
No, they're all GSM.
Yeah, they're all GSM.
Okay. You want to bet, anybody? Andy, what do you think? What's your bet? Verizon this year?
It's become it's AT&T is becoming so much of a liability for Apple right now. So many of the things that Google dinged Apple for were not Apple problems; they're AT&T problems.
Yeah.
So the question is whether Apple wants to use that as an excuse, nothing an excuse, but as an imperative to make sure they move it on to different carriers, or whether they're just going to use that as the big stick they used to just beat AT&T down to say, you know what? We don't care. If you want exclusivity, you're going to support tethering from now on, and you're going to put the infrastructure in we need to have this sort of same have the sort of interactivity between websites and the iPhone that we would like you to have. So I really have no idea. It seems like an inevitability that they'd move it on to other carriers because more and more people are just AT&T is such a liability that Apple will feel as though they really have to do it in order to keep the platform moving forward.
I think that they also just need to spread the pain out a little bit, because I think that part of the reason AT&T is the problem is just the way iPhone users
too many people using it.
I mean, well, iPhone users, the way we use our phone. Yeah. I mean, I talked to someone that worked at a network that said that I think it was one iPhone user is worth 8 the average smartphone users, and something like it was, I don't remember what the number was. It was like 20 or 30 or something like that of regular cell phone users. And so the thing is that it's just we use content in such a different way on the iPhone. I think it just battered them. I think it would batter any network, and I think it'll batter Verizon. I think Verizon is probably better positioned now.
But I don't know. I mean, AT&T has other phones besides the iPhone. Other networks have probably the same amount of volume, if not more. So what is it about the iPhone that AT&T can continue to say that if we were to open this one feature up for this one phone, even if it's the hottest phone out there, our one network can't handle it? What are they doing that Verizon isn't doing? What is Verizon doing that AT&T isn't?
Well, I don't think. Oh, I think that. I mean, no, I think tethering needs to be.
God, it's hot.
I think tethering needs to be added. I mean, I think it's incredibly frustrating that it's not.
Yeah, especially because, I mean, Leo, even you've used the Evo, where that's yet another Android phone that supports wireless tethering, wireless hotspot of sharing of the 3G, 4G.
8 devices. So, and by the way, the T-Mobile based Nexus One does it for free because that's part of the new 2.2 of Android. I can use this like a MiFi, and I have on my laptop. So it's got Wi-Fi base station. And this one does 8, but you have to pay Sprint $30 a month for it. But still, that's half the cost of a MiFi. That's on the Evo.
And I love my MiFi, but I would love not to have to carry it around.
You don't have to. Your phone becomes a MiFi.
Sure.
And I mean, the kicker was I have my AT&T SIM card in my my Nexus One right now. And the hotspot sharing works perfectly fine on the AT&T network for my Froyo phone.
Right.
But has T-Mobile told you that it's going to be a free service? Or my understanding is that it's built in, just like tethering is built into the iPhone operating system, and then carriers can decide what they want to do with it. My understanding is that carriers might avail themselves of the option of making that into an extra $20 a month or $30 a month.
Yeah, I mean that's what Sprint's doing. But my question is, how do they do that? Because how do they know that I'm doing it? Right.
Well, I mean, they can't. Not every the phones that get sold, they're not Nexus Ones where they're open platforms that you can install anything on. So
in other phones, they might, but a Nexus One, this is an open platform phone. I went to Froyo 2.2. It worked immediately. I tried it with my iPad. I was able to do it. Now, T-Mobile's not the best network. I think what will be a very compelling offering is a Sprint Evo running the 4G network somewhere. Not here because we don't have it. I've just turned on the hotspot. If you want to look for it on your laptop, you can try the. Would you like to try the Sprint 3G network there?
Why, yes, I would. Oh, I see it there. I need
it's the same password as the as Hercules. Do you remember that? Star 2 Ken. Go ahead, use it. I won't. I don't mind if everybody uses my phone. And then you'll be surfing on the Sprint network. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Everybody's going to have to do that now.
I'm not sure. Realize that when you go through the MiFi route, or if you go through Sprint-owned 4G mobile hotspot route, you really are just like sort of a one and done sort of bill. I'm not sure if I would switch to an Android phone just because I'm saving $30 a month on the cost of a MiFi. I'd much rather have two separate devices. I'd much rather have the iPhone I really, really want and the sort of mobile broadband I really, really want.
Right.
Although Sprint's doing something really, really cool with the Evo. Do you know that there's a 30-day money back guarantee on it?
Really?
You can, if
try
you buy
it. What's the risk? Yeah.
And so it was one of those things that I have to assume that I'm dumb. I didn't really understand what they were saying, so I had to ask the question again. So if I go into a Sprint store and I buy an Evo phone and less than 30 days later I decide that I don't want it anymore and I return it in good condition, there's no cancellation fee. I'm not stuck on a contract. I get all my money back. You get all your money back. There's you're not under contract. We'll cancel the contract. The only thing that you're on the hook for is if you bought anything, via the 4G network, like if you bought like one of those $30, naked ladies ringtones or whatever, then they'll still charge you for that. But that's not it.
So
that's an interesting move.
Your Evo is faster than my Wi-Fi. I mean, you know, the speed.
Sprint's got a pretty good network.
2.9 megabit.
You did a speed
megabit
test.
down.
No wonder my Epicurious got so slow.
That's the first. I have to admit, the very first thing I do.
Do a speed test.
I run speedtest.net every time I get onto a new network.
You're getting 2.9 down.
2.9 down, 0.58 up, and which is about, both numbers are about 50% faster than. Not twice as fast, but, you know, significantly faster than what I'm getting on my Mac.
Of course, my battery is now half dead, but you'd have to plug it in if you really wanted to use this, but still.
Right.
Google has announced that it is not going to allow its new incoming employees to get Windows computers anymore. I actually found this out before it broke yesterday, because Colleen said, yeah, they only offered me a Linux and a Mac. And Colleen's a big Windows user. Google, apparently worried about security issues, no longer uses Windows at the Googleplex.
You know, it's interesting. I know some government agencies that actually do the same thing. You know, it's Linux or Mac. They won't let you touch Windows.
God, that's got to hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and it's got to hurt at Google, because I'm surprised they still offer Apple. I'm surprised they just didn't go Linux entirely, since they obviously hate Apple. Too many employees don't hate Apple. I think
there was someone I was talking to in a government agency that said the Mac was actually to them they considered that the most secure, and they're using BSD. I mean, they're using the shell all the time. They're not really using the OS, and they said that from their perspective, the OS 10 was the most secure platform that they had to work in.
I didn't mention anything until it was publicly available, Colleen. I hope I don't get you in trouble.
Nope, too late. They're going to make her use Linux.
Oh no! I wonder what she chose. If she chose Mac, I think she'd probably choose Linux over Mac.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, as I would. The new Ubuntu is fantastic.
I missed that whole.
Oh yeah, the last time you were here, she worked for us.
She worked here, and then I was like, because you were asking about some technical stuff, and I was like, what does she say?
She got a great job at Google.
Wow,
she's a video streaming engineer at Google.
Wow.
And with management training, and we've hired Ken Shepherdson to replace her, and Jammer B and Burke are going to fill in a lot of the hands-on stuff. Ken's our web designer who's doing the new beta for us. So I'm thrilled for her. Couldn't be happier. We'll miss her on our laser tag team, but other than that, no, I will miss her in many, many, many ways. But she told me when I hired her, I'm going to Google.
It
just took longer than she thought.
Right.
We're going to come back in just a moment with our picks of the week from Andy Ihnatko of the Chicago Sun-Times, Alex Lindsay of the Pixel Corps. Merlin Mann has the week off. I'm Leo Laporte, and we've got to mention our friends at Audible.com right now. This is a wonderful place to get audio entertainment of all kinds. 75,000 titles, books, radio shows, performances, speeches. They do a whole big pro bono thing. If you are a member, you can go to the Free for Members page, and they've got excerpts now of many, many books. When there's when the debates happen, the presidential debates, they'd offer that pro bono. There's a lot of really, really great stuff. Free interviews.
And when you're on lots of 10-hour flights, they're awesome.
Yeah, get the little ones. Yeah, for free. Stock up. But I'll tell you what we're going to do right now. We're going to make it possible for you to get a book absolutely free. All you have to do is go to audible.com/MacBreak, because we know, and we tell all our advertisers, if we got a smart audience, and the best way to get them to try your product is to give them a free sample. Because if you've got a great product, they'll know it and love it. Plays on the iPad, iPod, iPhone, of course, all the Zune, the Kindle, a lot of GPS devices, the iRiver, the Sansa. There's 500 devices you can listen to great Audible literature on. And if you don't have time to read, Audible will do the reading for you. It's just, I love it. It's a luxury to me. So, Andy, what have you been reading lately? You got a recommendation for us?
I got a weird one this time. I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, which is the Creative Screenwriting Podcast. Wonderful, wonderful interviews with directors and filmmakers, and mostly screenwriters, and one of my favorite podcasts. And the guest on this show was George Romero, the director-producer of Night of the Living Dead. And I did not know that he had produced an audiobook, like an audio dramatization of Night of the Living Dead, narrated by George Romero himself.
You're kidding.
And a full cast. And sure enough, it is available on Audible. It is. I've given it a listen. I really had to download this one. And if you're looking for the this kind of subtle, nuanced presentation in which everything is filled with subtext and you get to sort of flesh out the story a little bit, this isn't that thing. This is the sort of thing that you play like driving on your way to a Halloween party, because it's nothing but, and then as darkness fell, there was a creep that enfolded them that was far more chilling than the mist.
I like that, though. Let me play a little bit of it. That's the other thing you can do at audible.com is sample any book.
Barbara, get the car started!
Barbara ran, but Johnny didn't. He was too busy fighting the man, if man it was. A man with...
Who knew that George Romero sounded uncannily like George Takei?
Yes.
This is great.
You learn from the master, Leo. What can I tell you? Now, there's only one downside to it. You know that I'm a big fan of just sticking it to the man. And if you're gonna get your free book or you're on the gold plan where you get one title every single month, go for the one that's like 10, 20, 30, 40 hours with it. This one is less than an hour. It's 56 minutes long. So let's give a little. I'm going to use one of my credits. I'm going to use one of those books that I selected because it was 17 hours long. I'm ratcheting that back to as though it were 16 hours long.
Yes.
And so using the surplus to get that one.
You've earned the right to do that, Andy. It's okay.
Yes, it is over the top. This is not something that you would want to have like those nice silicone like inside the ear sealed up your ear up headphones, because there's a lot of screaming and a lot of crashing and a lot of crunching.
I just added to my wish list one of my favorite novelists is William Gaddis, and they have done an audio version of. I just loved this book when I read it. J.R. And this is 37 hours, 46 minutes. So if you wanted it for one credit. So you can see, you maybe an hour if you're Night of the Living Dead material. If you're a fan of Pulitzer Prize winning literature, maybe JR for 37 hours and 46 minutes. But either way, you get it for free.
So between the two of us, 16, 17 hours.
There you go.
I'm sorry, 18 hours. There we go.
JR was a difficult read. I don't know how it would be as a listen, but I cannot wait to listen to it. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And if they'll finally do David Foster Wallace novels, that's really.
Oh God, that's
who's going to do Infinite Jest as a audio book, right?
You could be driving a Prius and you would blow a bigger hole in the ozone layer driving around trying to listen to all of Infinite Jest than you would if you had a Humvee pickup truck.
I can't understand why they haven't recorded that. Someday, perhaps. Someday. Our pick of the week. The Night of the Living Dead. It's free. Just go to audible.com/MacBreak and pick that up. But if you want something else, of course, there's 75,000 great titles waiting for you. A world of great literature. I think this is one of the best sites in the world. I just spent a lot of time even, browsing around. I can't wait till this new David Kirkpatrick book about Facebook comes out. That's going to be a blockbuster. Audible.com/MacBreak. We thank them so much for their support of all the Twit Network. It's time for our picks of the week, and I'm going to give you kind of an obscure one right out of nowhere. I was reading Hacker News this morning, and I saw this software had been released, and I said, hey, this sounds really very useful. It's called Kaleidoscope from kaleidoscopeapp.com. Have either of you heard of Kaleidoscope?
Is this the one where you can?
It lets you. You can try it for free. By the way, it's the one that lets you check the differences. It's kind of like a. That's the wrong picture. There it is. Diff, in Unix, but it does it in graphically, and it doesn't just do it for text files. It does it also for images. So if you've got two text files and you want to figure out what the differences are, it puts them side by side and highlights them. Very handy, but it will also do it with pictures. So what if you've modified a picture and you want to figure out what are the modifications to this picture? You can see the difference. It'll highlight on the screen where the differences are, or you can do a split screen and see the differences. And it really is, for somebody who does a lot of photo retouching, this would be very handy. For anybody who does a lot of programming, this would be handy. And frequently I modify our website files, and I can't remember what is different. But it also has built-in GitHub SVN check-in. So if you are using a versioning system, this is a really great tool. It is not free, but you can try it for free at kaleidoscopeapp.com. Scope. And how do you spell kaleidoscope is the question. Kaleidoscopeapp.com. And I think it's 29 euros to buy. Yeah, there it is. So a very neat program. It lets you compare changes in text files, images, and then use Mercurial, Git, or Subversion to complete your workflow. What a cool idea. And I might add that I was going to recommend this last week. Remember, we were a little short on time, but I have been using Chrome, which is now out officially for Macintosh. And while I do love Safari, I have to say Chrome is my browser of choice on the Mac. It's maybe I'm a Google fanboy, but it's just fast. It's very slick. It has a lot of the features that I look for in a browser, like bookmark syncing, and the extensions on Chrome are very extensive now. They've really beefed those up. So if you're a Mac user, we've got now 3 really great choices: Firefox, which has gotten to be a little bit slow; Safari, which still I think is the frontline browser, but Chrome is winning my heart on all the platforms I use. Alex Lindsay, your recommendation, my friend.
My recommendation for the iPhone is a friend of mine released a new application.
Oh, cool!
And it's really fun. So a lot of us, it was funny when I was in Africa. I was talking to someone at the airport. And I looked down and he had a Holga. Have you seen these little plastic?
Yeah, the cheap Russian cameras. They don't make them anymore.
They don't make them anymore. But it's like there's this artist. They
give you a
community.
unique look,
and it's a random look. You don't know what you're going to get next. You don't know how it's going to come out. But that's what makes it, from a certain artistic point of view.
Right.
That's what makes this work. And so, anyway, there is a new application out for the iPhone called Plastic Bullet. Now, this is made by Red Giant Software, and it is the little.
Is this related to Magic Bullet, the video editing software?
Yeah. So so Stu Maschwitz is the creative director behind this. And hold on, I'll
Alex
take a picture.
is going to take a picture of me now.
All right, are you ready? So there we go. And all right, so here we got a picture.
Okay.
And I know you guys some of you are just listening, but
for those of you listening at home,
I just took a picture of Leo being goofy. And so here's what you have is it gives you a bunch of random.
Here, I can hold it up here if you want.
Yeah. All right.
So it gives you 3 different looks. There's
like 4.
That you get.
That's now if you don't like it, just hit see the top corner. Just hit that again.
So
and
this is completely random.
It's like there's a lot of it does a lot of what typically
this
what
is fun.
These. It's really fun. This is just another little filter, and it just gives oftentimes you'll just find yourself to kind of a very classic, just something fun that you can use that is.
So it isn't always a Holga look. It's
a kind of it just really gives you but it just kind of this is what these kind of cameras would do. With the exposure.
Folks Magic Bullet is an incredible plug-in for.
And there's bullet, and there's looks, and there's photo looks, and there's a lot of different ways of putting this together, and it
Final Cut.
For Final Cut. So there's a lot of other things that you can find at Red Giant, but this one is a fun little application. I think it's either 99 cents or $1.99 really or something like that, and it's just a great.
So they have an Android version.
I don't know. I don't know
Welcome
if they have
to
an
Android Weekly.
yeah. So, but it's
I can
just
tell you they don't.
It's just such a fun little. And I found myself, shooting stuff in. In Africa and stuff, and you can, of course, you don't have to shoot something. You can, it's something you might take existing photos and just kind of run this.
But you just don't know what is it completely random? So there's an infinite number, or are there just kind of a subset of different looks?
I think that it's a randomly interacting. There's a lot of subsets.
So there's sliders that they're just applying.
But it really.
This is neat.
I have found
now if they would just put a better camera in the iPhone, we could really
right.
Maybe that's what's next.
Well, I'd love to see. I think Apple's going to put a better camera in. But anyway, it's a fun really fun little application, and it's an easy buy.
So it's not just the Holga; it's the Lomo and the Diana,
and it just really. I'm just saying that's a good example. That's what most people know. But yeah, it's a fun little product, and it's just, and I think it's, as I said, I think it's like 99 cents or $1.99. This is definitely one that is just really easy to throw on your iPhone. So definitely check that out.
Plastic Bullet from RedGiantSoftware.com, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
Cheap. And Ihnatko, your pick, my friend.
I have something for the iPad. I'm still sort of looking for a good case for the thing. I can't find one that really behaves the way I want it to. I want something so I can carry it around without, add 40 million more fingerprints to it, protect from getting scratched, and be convenient enough that it's just not a big pain in the butt and add all this bulk and all this heft and all this thickness. I mean, it's an iPad is just this beautifully designed thing, and I think that when you have to hard mount it inside this stupid like Soviet style, Woolworth's picture frame sort of thing, just to say that you put a case on it, I think that sort of blows the whole deal. So I'm sort of getting close to things that I like. Newer technology has this thing called the New Guard Clear and the New Guard Leather. Believe it or not, this iPad is actually in a case right now. It is this clear, like shiny carbonate shell that is absolutely precision molded to the contours of the back of the iPad. And it just clips on. There's no like elastics. There's no rubber. There's no nothing. It's just all the corners just sort of clip in to such an extent that if you want to take this off, you can take it off without breaking it. It's just that it will not fall off on its own accord. And when you're using it, and this is the big problem that I have with so many cases, when you have it in your hands, it doesn't feel like you've got this extra skin on it. Right? This is the
black one. Version. Yeah, and then they make a rubber one too. I don't know about.
Well, see that's
isn't that going to be kind of insulating?
They make a silicone version, and that one I don't like because it's not the only one like that I've seen. Because the edges of it just sort of like they can't really. It doesn't like rubber band and just stick to the front of it very, very closely. So when you put it in, you have sort of a flappy sort of thing going on all sides of it. That's sort of it feels like a loose skin all around the edges. It's
kind of like a foreskin for your iPad.
Oh, that's certainly not something that I said, but okay. Going for another demographic here, but again, I realize that now that you have $1 million payroll, we
got to go for whatever we can. Exactly. But I'm concerned when I see these silicone cases that they might be keeping a lot of that heat in. I mean.
I don't know about that. I've never had my iPad feel warm in my hands even when I've been using it for about an hour or two. Right. So I'm guessing that's pretty safe.
So you like the shell though? I mean, the shell would be somewhat protective.
Well, it's. I don't think it's really drop protecting it as so much as the fact that it'll protect the back of it from getting all scratched and scuffed up. Because if you don't have something on it, if you're okay with it getting a little scratch on the back, that's okay. It certainly doesn't affect the performance. The other cool thing is that it is perfectly clear. Right. So again, if you want to keep your iPad looking nice and pretty, so that when the next generation comes out next year, you can either sell it or give it away to somebody without feeling so you're giving them something that's been, it looks like someone's given birth to it. I mean, this will protect it, and also because it's clear, like if you have these window clings or something like that, you can just sort of stick it to the face of that, and now you have, the silhouettes from Mystery Science Theater 3000 just peeking out from the back of your thing, of your iPad there, because it will look like it's just like sort of embossed onto this plastic here. So. That's the other important thing about putting an iPad in a case for me is that you need to. I really think that if you are in this sort of social group with lots of people who have them, or if you're at like tech conferences, it's a really good idea to differentiate your iPad somehow, so that someone doesn't pick up the wrong one, or if you go through airport security, actually don't. That's not a big a problem because you don't have to take it out of the bag. But when you have 10 of these in the room that all look identical, you need to have something on that to make it look a little bit different from the rest. And so this is a cheap $25 way to not only protect the back of the thing, but also allow you to sort of customize your iPad pretty well without permanently marring the back of it. So I like it. Again, when you put it on, it becomes completely invisible, and that's exactly to both sight and to touch, and that's the reason why I like it.
So you're going to use the clear one, huh? I have a clear one somewhere too.
Yeah.
You want to try this, Alex? Yeah. I have yet to find the perfect solution for the iPad. I have a big bulky case, and I know, Alex, you're using the Apple case.
I keep on looking at the other cases, but for me the Apple case is just the smallest one, and it doesn't. And I gotta say that even though I thought it was silly when it started, just this little angle that Apple figured out here.
I think you need something to tilt it up. Yeah.
When I'm at breakfast, it turns out to be just this perfect little angle to read BBC News and everything else. And so I haven't found one that I'm sold on enough because I don't want it to be any bigger. Like I don't want it to be any thicker than this.
I love this, and my mom has the Marware EcoView on hers over there right now, and I love it. But it's big. I mean, it's a big bulky thing.
In my backpack, the problem is that my iPad coexists with my laptop in the sleeve in my Kata bag. And so right now, if it got any thicker, it would be problematic. Right. This one is really nice. I do like this.
It's leather. It's got a tilt up.
Yeah. I mean, and I do like the fact that this one doesn't. I definitely believe that to have a case that closes it, and I have to admit it was mostly because in Africa, oftentimes I was in the country. I was probably one of only 10 people that had an iPad.
Yeah, you don't want anything to look like an iPad.
And advertising that was not something that I was entirely excited about.
I wish I had it here next to the iMac, but my friend Carrie sewed me a custom like iPad sleeve out of flannel. That's still like the best iPad case I've ever used because it's a nice slip case. It gives it something. I don't feel as though I'm exposing it to dust and dirt. I'm just carrying it around. I don't feel like an idiot when I walk into the Chipotle grill or whatever carrying it. And it has a little pocket for my MiFi too, so that's another little piece of win. So I was hoping for something commercial that's as good as that. Until then, I'm going to be using the homemade solution.
Flannel. It's like jammies for your iPad. I like it. Well, some great recommendations there, gents. Thank you very much for being here. We'll see you next on Monday for our live coverage of WWDC. I believe it now. The time is official, 10 a.m.
Exciting times.
And whenever it starts, we will be here covering it live with Tom Merritt and Alex Lindsay from the studio. Alex and Tom will be anchoring here. Andy and Don McAllister will be inside, and we'll be watching your live blogging, Andy, as well as Don's and everybody else's. And then, of course, the following day, we'll do analysis on MacBreak Weekly as well. We do that show 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv. But you should subscribe as well. Just go to iTunes, or, easiest thing to do, go to twit.tv/MBW, and that's the MacBreak Weekly page with all the subscription information. There's audio versions as well as large and small video versions, and subscribing means you just get it every week automatically in your iTunes. Thank you all for being here. Andy Ihnatko, when do you leave? You said the weekend, yeah?
I'm leaving Saturday afternoon. It's whirlwind tour. I get 1 day in San Francisco. I get 1 day at WWDC, 1 day in Petaluma, and then I am out of there.
Sounds perfect. Perfect.
Like Marcellus Wallace would say, your San Francisco privileges have been revoked, son.
You're out of here. And it's great to have you back, Alex Lindsay. I really appreciate your input, as always. We tried to run the show without you, but we just couldn't.
Oh, it's fun to be back.
We've got a green screen studio we want to build with you somewhere.
I'm ready.
We've got to find a location to do that.
I'm ready.
Yeah, that'll be for the iPad show.
No, that'll be great.
Sarah and I are going to host.
Are you going to do it in this office?
Well, what we thought, I really want to do an iPad show. I mean, just begging to be done. And what we thought we'd do is upgrade a little bit from what we do here at MacBreak Weekly, which is simply a studio with us sitting around, some via Skype, some in studio, and do it out in the field. So what we want to do is have a green screen cove here that we can demonstrate the apps in.
Right.
And do some stuff in as produced pieces, and then go out in the field with a live view, which is our new really cool box it's what we used at CES and South by Southwest. Is what we're going to use at E3. What lets us go out in the field using 3G. You played with it. You went out to lunch.
We're going to Cinegear with it.
You have one
too. This week.
Yeah. So we're going to take that out in the field, and Sarah and I will do our show kind of live from the field with these rolled in pieces. That's the theory. We'll see if it works. That's going to launch pretty soon. We're working on that right now. In fact, Sarah's in the other room working on it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's exciting. Watch for that. iPad Today, it's going to be called, and then we'll launch sometime in the month of June.
Fantastic.
Thank you, everybody. Now, back to work. Break time is over.